Before Quatermass, before the Doctor, one icon of British science fiction shone out beyond the stars. On the 14th of April 1950, an exciting new comic for boys was launched. With its full-colour cover art and tabloid style, The Eagle was something new.
If you talk to people of that generation, the 1950s generation, they remember clearly running down to their local newsagents to buy the original Eagle.
Filled with a mixture of weekly comic strips and features, it was launched as an alternative to the American horror comics with their gruesome depictions of death. Headlining on the Eagle's cover, Dan Dare starred in exciting space adventures, co-created by the Reverend Marcus Morris and the renowned illustrator Frank Hampson. Everything about the world of Dan Dare was meticulously planned and designed by Hampson and his team. From the rocket ships to the spacesuits, ray guns and exotic alien worlds. They also created Dan Dare's archenemy, the evil Mekon, supreme ruler and chief scientist of the fiercely logical Treens of Venus. The Mekon proved to be a relentless and dangerous foe throughout Dan's adventures, influencing science fiction writers for decades to come. All of these elements made Dan Dare and the Eagle essential reading.
The characters themselves, Dan Dare, Digby, his Batman, Professor Peabody, Sir Hubert Guest, and various other characters that would pop up on occasion, and of course the villainous Mekon, became a sort of family that the Eagle audience grew to know and love.
But Dan Dare didn't just conquer the comic book world. In the 1950s, you could buy all kinds of merchandise: toy spaceship, rocket gun, die-cast figures, and even a watch. But most famously, Dan Dare was a radio star.
The Radio Luxembourg broadcast a weekly serial featuring the character, of which only 2 episodes remained. It was recorded on wax discs and is lost.
Meanwhile, at the Eagle, the sudden departure of Frank Hampson required the search for a new lead artist. The editors turned to one of the country's most respected comic book illustrators, Frank Bellamy.
Artist Frank Bellamy, who's better known for his work on Thunderbirds in TV21, totally revamped the character for the first time. He worked on Dan Dare for about a year in the early 60s.
After Frank Bellamy left, the strip was continued by members of Frank Hampson's original team. The new stories were not without innovation, taking Dan through time aboard the Tempest Frangit, battling new adversaries including the villainous Zell. Losing the coveted front cover, relegated to the inside pages, the strip's days were numbered. In 1969, Dan Dare retired from active duty to become the Space Fleet controller. This brought his adventures and the strip to an end. However, the appeal of the character endured. And in 1977, Dan Dare was dramatically reimagined for a new generation in the pages of 2000 AD, this time controversially presented as a punk Dirty Harry type character. Initially drawn by the Italian artist Massimo Bellardinelli, and then later by Dave Gibbons, better known for his work on the seminal graphic novel Watchmen.
Dan Dare came to an abrupt end in 2000 AD, partly I suspect because there was a plan for a Dan Dare TV series. Initially scripted by Dick Clements and Ian LaFrenne, better known for The Likely Lads, but was also scripted by Phil Redman, who created Grange Hill and Brookside, and also involved a number of artists on concept work for the project who worked on 2000 AD.
Renewed interest in the character saw the revived Eagle introduce a new Dan Dare, grandson of the original for the Star Wars generation. Along for the ride were some new friends and old enemies. Dan next returned to the airways in a 4-part Radio 4 dramatisation of Voyage to Venus, starring Mick Ford. Then in 2007, Virgin Comics miniseries by Garth Ennis and Gary Erskine updated the characters and stories in surprising new ways for a post-9/11 world. While all these revivals were short-lived, Frank Hampson's original Dan Dare has lived on in the pages of the fanzine Spaceship Away.
They've created all new adventures featuring the original Dan Dare and his team in the style of the original comics, with a lot of reverence for the original source material.
While a second live-action television show faltered during the planning stages, an animated series finally premiered in 2002.
It was done with the special effects company that also worked on Babylon 5 originally, and has had an incredible success, not in the UK where it wasn't very well broadcast, but has a strong following in South America and other places where it has been sold in. It shows you just how adaptable the characters of Dan Dare are.
And now, 65 years since first appearing in The Eagle, Dan Dare's back, in a bold new series of audio adventures inspired by the classic Frank Hampson strips and starring Ed Stoppard as Colonel Dan Dare. So strap yourself in and prepare to blast off once again with the pilot of the future.